After he became Gurkhan in 1201, Jamuka set out with his coalition against his old Anda Temujin, who was able to mobilize his and Togrul Khan's forces and set out for battle. The secret history of the Mongols tells us that the vanguards of these two armies ran into each other at Koyiten, near the Kalka River, and, being late in the day, they promised a battle the next morning. That's perhaps a little odd from a 21st century perspective, but you have to remember, sending thousands of your men on horseback running at each other in the dark is a great way to kill a lot of people needlessly. You have to kill them on purpose. And besides, it's always nice to get a good night's rest before going to war. Koyiten is a very famous battle for a number of related anecdotes. As the battle began, Boyur Khan of the Neman and Kudakabeki of the Oirats, or their shamans at least, tried to use a magic stone to turn the weather against Temujin. We are told that a storm did come up, a mighty rainstorm, which blew back into the faces of Jamuka's army, scattering them as they felt that heaven itself had turned against them. Blinded, Jamuka's army ran wild, falling into ravines and breaking. Jamuka himself raiding their own camp, perhaps as a way to give his own warriors something so they wouldn't be quite as angry at the defeat. The army broke apart, the various tribes running their separate directions, and Jamuka and his men fleeing as well. Togrul Khan chasing them while Temujin went after the Tachiud. The Tachiud commander Ayatru Bagatar was an able general, and when he had gotten his troops over the Onon River in good order, he made a gallant effort against Temujin. The battle was closely fought and went on until nightfall, during which many of the Tachiud would flee. However, Temujin had been wounded in the neck during the battle by an arrow and was unable to stop the bleeding, and fearing poison, he had a tent pitched to hide himself from his men. His loyal captain Jelma would not leave his Khan's side, and spent much of the night sucking the blood from the wound, swallowing it, as if he spit it on the ground, that would offend the earth. However, the human digestive system is not particularly good at taking in lots of human blood, and poor Jelma would have to spit it out eventually. At midnight, Temujin woke and declared his thirst, and valiant Jelma stripped down just to his pants and snuck into the nearby camp made by those Tachiud who didn't flee. Unable to find any arag, the fermented mare's milk loved by the Mongols, Jelma grabbed a bucket of curds to return to Temujin with, mixing it with water for him to drink. When Temujin was fully conscious, he asked Jelma why he would spit the blood so close to him, and why he was almost naked. Which Jelma explained had been so that the Tachiud would believe he was fleeing the Mongols as a traitor. Temujin, in the end, was grateful. The next day, as Temujin went out to survey the remnants of the Tachiud, the daughter of Sorkin Shira, the man who had helped Temujin when he was captured by the Tachiud as a boy, came running up, hoping to save her husband from being killed by Temujin's men. Unfortunately, it was too late for him. Nonetheless, Temujin took her under his protection. The day after, Sorkin Shira himself returned alongside another warrior. He explained why he had not joined Temujin's army sooner, saying that he feared what would happen to his family if the Tachiud found out he left. Temujin graciously welcomed his old friend back and would richly reward him. Next, he demanded to know who had shot out his horse from under him during the battle. The man who had returned with Sorkin Shira spoke up as the assassin, pledging his loyalty to Temujin if Temujin would retain him in his service. Throughout his life, Temujin would always admire personal bravery and always recognize ability, and seeing this man's honesty, courage, and skill with a bow, Temujin took him into his service, naming him Jebe, which means arrow, if I said that right. Jebe would become one of Chinggis Khan's greatest generals. This sense of fairness and justice Temujin showed to Jebe, Zorkan Shira, and his family helped to foster the bonds of loyalty and popularity between Temujin and his followers. Now it came to deal with the captured Tetriad. This tribe had caused him such trouble throughout his life, abandoning his family after his father's death, capturing and humiliating him as a boy, and challenging his position as Khan. Temujin was known for his sense of justice, but was much more infamous for his need for revenge against insults. Temujin would have all the males, even the children of the captured Tetriad, slaughtered. The survivors he took to be servants and slaves. These events vary in order and detail, depending on where you read them. Rashid al-Din's version of Jebe joining Temujin being quite different, but all are used to highlight different aspects of Temujin's character, and even if they hadn't actually happened, they were quite famous to those who followed him. Temujin and Togrul succeeded in defeating the first coalition sent against them, inflicting a humiliating defeat upon their enemy. But there were still a lot of twists and turns before the issue of rule of the Mongols could be settled.